What if I told you that persistent itch, that skin irritation you've been ignoring for weeks or even months, isn't just dry skin or a reaction to your soap? What if that uncomfortable feeling is actually the last resort your body found to scream that something very serious is happening inside? Often, what we mistake for dry weather, natural aging, or a passing allergy is the silent and desperate way cancer uses to warn us before it's too late. Hello, I'm Dr. Mariana Almeida. What I'm about to reveal in this video isn't just medical curiosity. It's information that has the real, literal power to save your life or the life of someone you deeply love. According to the latest and most rigorous cancer research, more than 40% of people diagnosed with cancer in advanced stages reported experiencing a persistent and very specific itch in strategic areas of the body, occurring between 6 months and 2 years before the final diagnosis. The biggest problem, and the reason I'm recording this warning today, is that no one taught these people how to interpret these signs. No one explained that their bodies were already sending distress signals. Today, I'm going to show you exactly which 5 critical zones of the body should never be ignored when it comes to itching, because they may indicate that cancer cells are beginning to multiply invisibly. I'll share real patient stories of people who, by paying close attention to symptoms other doctors had dismissed, managed to detect the disease in time for a complete cure. But I want to make one thing very clear from the start. Not every itch is cancer. The vast majority of them are completely benign. My goal here is to help you know exactly when a symptom deserves your immediate medical attention. If you've ever felt a strange itch that worried you, write number 1 in the comments. Now let's discover together the signals your body is trying to send you. Let's begin with a region we often neglect: the calves. I want you to hear the story of Mrs. Beatrice, a lively 72-year-old woman who came to my office after exhausting visits to 3 different dermatologists. She was visibly shaken. "Dr. Mariana," she told me with teary eyes and trembling hands, "for 8 months my legs have been itching in a way I can't even describe. It's a desperation that won't let me sleep. I scratch until I break the skin. And nothing, absolutely nothing, no cream or moisturizer, brings me relief." Mrs. Beatrice had already heard it all, that it was just dry skin from aging, that she needed to drink more water, that she should change her fabric softener. But her instinct told her there was something deeper, and she was right. When I examined her calves, I noticed something curious. On the surface, her skin looked almost normal. There were no rashes, no severe flaking, nothing that explained the agony she described. That's when I explained a fundamental concept you need to understand right now. When lymphoma, a cancer that attacks the lymphatic system, begins developing silently, cancer cells release powerful inflammatory chemicals called cytokines. These molecules travel through your bloodstream. However, because of gravity and the fact that blood return circulation in the legs is naturally slower, these cytokines tend to concentrate and accumulate in the lower extremities, especially the calves and shins. When these substances reach the sensitive nerve endings in the lower legs, they trigger the kind of itch Mrs. Beatrice described as coming from inside the bone. It wasn't an itch on the skin, it was an itch in the system. I immediately ordered detailed blood tests, and the results were alarming. Her white blood cell levels were atypically altered. A later lymph node biopsy confirmed our suspicions: early-stage lymphoma. The good news is that because we thoroughly investigated that simple symptom, her treatment was extremely effective. 6 months later, Mrs. Beatrice returned radiant and cured. She told me something I'll never forget. "Doctor, if I had accepted that it was just my age, I wouldn't be here today to tell this story." Now pay close attention, because I'm going to teach you how to identify whether the itch in your legs could be a warning sign for lymphoma. There are 4 distinctive characteristics you should watch for. First, relentless persistence. Lymphoma-related itch is not intermittent. It doesn't come and go. It settles in and stays for weeks or months without relief, becoming part of your daily anguish. Second, worsening at night. There's a clear circadian pattern. The intensity increases dramatically during the night, often waking you up already scratching frantically. Third, focal location. It concentrates very specifically on the calves and shins. It's not a random itch that moves around the body. It seems to have a fixed address on your legs. Fourth, total resistance to common treatments. If you've used high-quality moisturizers, cortisone lotions, or taken oral antihistamines and nothing changed the intensity of the symptom after 4 weeks, this is the definitive red flag. The problem isn't on the surface of your skin, it's in your system. If you or someone you know is experiencing this exact type of discomfort in the legs for more than a month, please don't wait. See a doctor and use the right words. Explain that the itch is deep, worsens at night, and doesn't respond to creams. This precision can guide your doctor to order the right blood tests that could save your life. Write number 2 in the comments if you've ever felt an itch in your legs that seemed to come from inside and worried you. Now let's move to the second sign, which is even more deceptive and located on your back. We're advancing to one of the most treacherous, and unfortunately most ignored, signs. Persistent itching exactly between the shoulder blades in the middle of the back. This sign is particularly dangerous because almost everyone attributes it to muscle problems, accumulated stress, or poor posture. Let me tell you about Mr. Ricardo, a meticulous 65-year-old accountant. For nearly a full year, Ricardo visited chiropractors, massage therapists, and physiotherapists, looking for relief from what he described as an internal fire between his shoulders. Dr. Mariana, he later confessed, it felt like something was burning me from inside the flesh. I scratched until my skin was raw. I changed my mattress, bought expensive orthopedic pillows, even switched my laundry detergent thinking it was a fabric allergy. But nothing, absolutely nothing, put out that fire in my back. Unfortunately, when Ricardo finally sought medical help because of other symptoms, extreme fatigue that wouldn't go away and unexplained weight loss, the diagnosis was devastating: advanced pancreatic cancer. His wife, Mrs. Teresa, told me through tears something that motivated me to make this video. No one told us that the itch on his back could be his pancreas crying for help. If we had known, we would have acted months earlier. But why would the pancreas, an organ located in the abdomen, cause itching on the back? The scientific explanation is fascinating and crucial. The pancreas is closely connected to the liver and gallbladder through a complex network of ducts. When a tumor begins growing in the pancreas, even a tiny one, it can compress or partially obstruct these bile ducts. This prevents bile salts from flowing normally into the intestine to help digest fats. As a result, these bile salts reflux back into the bloodstream and begin circulating throughout the body. When these salts deposit under the skin, they violently irritate the nerve endings. And here's where neurology comes in. Due to the body's nerve mapping during embryonic development, irritation from the biliary and pancreatic systems often manifests as referred pain or itching exactly between the shoulder blades. It's as if the pancreas is trying to send a desperate radio signal, but the message arrives coded as an itch on the back. Another patient of mine, Mrs. Teresa, 68, had a different outcome. When she felt this same deep itch, she had already heard about this connection. She didn't waste time with massages. She came straight to my office and said, "Doctor, I feel like something is wrong inside, and my back won't stop burning." I immediately ordered liver enzyme tests and a detailed abdominal ultrasound. We detected the tumor while it was still small and operable. Today, Teresa is cancer-free, proving that knowledge is our best weapon. How can you tell if the itch on your back is dangerous? Deep, burning nature. It feels like it's coming from under the muscles. Centralized location. It stays right in the middle of the back, where you can barely reach. Resistance to mechanical treatments. Massages and pain relief ointments offer little to no relief. Subtle digestive signs. It's often accompanied by mild nausea after fatty meals or a feeling of bloating. If you've been feeling this fire between your shoulder blades for more than 3 weeks with no apparent mechanical cause, Write number 3 in the comments and schedule an appointment with a gastroenterologist or oncologist. Now let's move to the third sign, which affects the scalp and is often mistaken for stress. The scalp is one of the most densely populated areas, with blood vessels and sensory nerves in the entire human body. That's why it can be the first sensor of drastic changes in your blood composition. This third sign is subtle, almost ethereal, which is why people take the longest to take it seriously. Professor Antonio, a brilliant 71-year-old man, came to my office accompanying his wife. At the end of the consultation, he said almost apologetically, "Dr. Mariana, I don't want to sound dramatic, but for about 6 months I've been feeling something strange on my head. It's not exactly an itch. It feels like electric ants are walking across my scalp. But I have no dandruff, no lice, nothing visible." What Professor Antonio was describing is what we call scalp paresthesia in medicine. It wasn't a dermatological irritation, but a neurological reaction. I explained to him that when abnormal blood cells, such as those produced in chronic lymphocytic leukemia, begin flooding the bloodstream, the viscosity and chemistry of the blood change. These diseased white blood cells can cause microobstructions or release substances that irritate the delicate nerves around the hair follicles. Because the scalp is at the highest point of the body and has very rich microcirculation, it detects these variations much earlier than other organs. In Professor Antonio's case, his blood work revealed a very high white blood cell count. He was in the early stages of leukemia. "Doctor," he told me months later while in treatment, "I thought it was just stress from teaching, or maybe the shampoo. I never imagined my head was warning me about my blood." Leukemia is known as a silent disease, but it leaves traces. The itch or tingling on the scalp associated with blood disorders has very particular characteristics you need to notice. Absence of visible signs. The skin looks perfect with no redness, flaking, or oiliness. Electric sensation. Often not a typical itch that makes you want to scratch, but a constant tingling or feeling of something crawling on your head. Daily fluctuation. It usually worsens significantly toward the end of the day or during moments of fatigue. Systemic factors. If along with this tingling you notice small purple spots appearing on your legs or arms without injury, or if your gums bleed easily when brushing, the alert should be maximum. Professor Antonio is stable today with his disease under control, precisely because he didn't ignore what seemed like a minor thing. If you've been feeling these electric ants persistently, write number 4 in the comments. Don't let the subtlety of the signal stop you from seeking a diagnosis. We've now arrived at a sign that every woman, and men too, though less commonly, needs to know urgently: the chest area. Often, persistent itching in this region is dismissed as simple contact dermatitis, bra fabric allergy, or sweat irritation. But there's an extremely aggressive form of breast cancer called inflammatory breast cancer that doesn't present with a palpable lump. I want you to hear the story of Mrs. Helena, a 58-year-old woman who came to my office after months of frustration. She had already seen 2 gynecologists and 1 dermatologist. All of them, without exception, said her problem was an allergy to her bra underwire or just excessive summer heat. "Dr. Mariana," she told me with a tired voice, "for 4 months my right breast has been itching non-stop, especially around the nipple. I've changed all my underwear, used cortisone creams, taken antihistamines, but the itch feels like it's coming from inside the gland. It wakes me up in the middle of the night and burns like there's an ember under my skin." When I examined Helena, I noticed something the others had missed. At first glance, the skin looked almost normal with no obvious rashes. However, to the touch, the skin around the nipple was slightly denser, thicker, and, most concerning, visibly warmer than the other breast. I explained to her that inflammatory breast cancer is treacherous because it doesn't form a solid mass you can feel during self-examination. Instead, it blocks the tiny lymphatic vessels that drain the breast skin. When these channels are obstructed by cancer cells, lymphatic fluid accumulates, causing deep inflammation, heat, and the unbearable itch you're feeling. Biopsies confirmed my concern, but also brought an opportunity for cure. Helena started treatment immediately. Today, after winning that battle, she's an advocate for awareness. "Doctor," she said, "if I hadn't insisted that the itch wasn't normal, I would be treating something with no solution today. The itch was my signal to live." How can you differentiate a common allergy from something that requires an immediate mammogram or ultrasound? Persistent location. The itch is focused on a specific point, usually the nipple or areola, and doesn't improve with changing hygiene products. Orange peel texture. The pores in the itchy area appear more dilated, or the skin looks slightly swollen. Localized warmth. If you touch the area with the back of your hand and it feels warmer than the rest of your body, this is a major red flag. Resistance to topical treatments. Rash creams and moisturizers have absolutely no effect because the cause is internal and structural. Men, pay attention too. Although rare, male breast cancer exists and can begin exactly this way. If you've been feeling something like this for more than 2 weeks, write number 5 in the comments. Your life is worth far more than any doubt. Remember, cancer detected early has cure rates of 90% or higher in many cases. Time is the most valuable resource we have in oncology. Don't wait for unbearable pain. Pain is usually a late sign. Itching is often the early sign. We've reached the end of this journey of knowledge, but your role begins now. Your body is the most sophisticated machine that exists in the universe. It has an incredibly sensitive alarm system. Every sensation, every change, and every seemingly minor discomfort is an attempt by your organism to keep you alive and healthy. Remember the stories we shared today. Remember Mrs. Beatriz, Mr. Ricardo, Professor Antonio, Mrs. Helena, and Mr. Joaquim. They all had one thing in common. They decided not to ignore what seemed like just an itch. They listened to their body's calls for help and took action. That decision is what allowed them to still be here, living their dreams and hugging their families. As your doctor, I ask you, don't ignore the signs. Don't be ashamed to talk about your body. Don't minimize your symptoms out of fear of what the doctor might find. Fear doesn't prevent the problem, but action can solve it. If this video brought you clarity, if it gave you information you didn't have before, please share it. Quality medical information is a seed that, when spread, saves lives in places we can't even imagine. Maybe someone in your circle of friends or family needs to hear exactly this today to decide to see a doctor. Leave a like if this content was useful. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue taking care of your health together. And tell me in the comments which of these 5 signs surprised you the most. I read every single one of you. Take care of your body, because it's the only place you have to live. I'm Doctor. I wish you lots of health, discernment, and a long, full life. God bless you, and see you in our next video. Many blessings.